Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy, Evolution, Voyager-class, Autobot, Metalhawk. So let's go ahead and bring that box in and take a look at that first. And right up top you have your Legacy Evolution, you have your QR code, you have your specs, you have parents, big gaping hole, and you've got some artwork there of Metalhawk in his alt mode. Legacy Evolution, he's a Voyager class. Over here you've got all that sweet, sweet Legacy artwork. On the back you have your product shots. And he converts in 18 steps. And there you have the sad baby. The baby's sad because we had to wait this long for such a cool figure. And over here you've got that close-up of that face. And there he is in his bot mode. Down low you have that information if you care to read it. Alright, so that's it for the box. Let's go ahead and take a look at everything that came with Metalhawk. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box, and we'll start over here with your little sheet of warnings, and you have your instruction booklet, and that leaves you with the 3 accessories that you see here. So we're going to start right in the middle. This is his titanium saber, and it has no paint, but it's got some pretty decent sculpt work on it. Looks pretty good for the most part. I think they could have added some paint and it would have gone a long way, and maybe gotten rid of this filled in area right there, but yeah, not bad. I'm not going to complain too much, just reminding myself it's a Voyager class price point. Alright, and then moving on, so now you have his 2 guns. Now they are identical other than being mirror images of each other, so we'll just take a look at one first. Again, no paint. Details are pretty good though, some good sculpt work in there, so you do have some rifling, or what looks to be some rifling in there. And yeah, it's nothing amazing, but it's not the worst I've ever seen either. So you do have blast effect compatibility on these, and then you do have the added bonus of being able to put these together. Now they do secure very firmly together. It's a very tight fit to put them together, and it is a lot of struggle to pull them apart. So they are not going to come loose on you, so nothing to worry about there. So yeah, you kind of make a super gun, or it looks like a smaller version of an airplane. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, so, and then these also become his tail fins in his alt mode as well. So, yeah, that's it for the accessories. So let's go ahead and get into the meat of this, and we'll bring Metalhawk in and we'll take a look at his details. Here he is, the bot we've all been waiting to see. This is Metalhawk. And for those who don't know, this is a highly retooled version of the mold that was used for the War for Cybertron Kingdom Cyclonus. So there are a lot of similarities here and some shared parts. And as far as I'm concerned, this is one of those situations of, it's about time. If Hasbro and Takara are going to reuse a mold, it should be the Cyclonus mold. It's a really good design. So I'm glad to see that it's being used here. Fits Metalhawk really well. He looks good in his alt mode and his bot mode, which we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, it's definitely worth reusing that mold and using it on Metalhawk here. So let's go ahead and get into it. And we're going to start right up here with the head. It looks pretty good. It's very reminiscent of Bumblebee. I know he's not Bumblebee. Just saying, with the yellow, with the silver face, I see a little bit of Bumblebee there. It's kind of like who Bumblebee would want to be when he grows up. So you get good sculpt work on the sides there. And then coming down to that chest, everything looks good. I do like the splashes of paint right in here. Those reds really set it off. Could have used a little bit more right here. But it's not the worst thing ever. Autobot symbol looks good. Then coming on down to that crotch, everything there looks good. So shared leg components with Cyclonus here. The lower legs are different. And then if we were to open those up, you can see you've got some nice detail going on in there as well. And then you got big old red kneecaps. And then big old red feet. If anything, the feet could have been a little bit bigger actually, because he's fine as he is as far as stability goes, but if he was just a couple of centimeters longer on the rear right there, would have gone a long way to keep help with the tipping over. Alright, so let's go ahead and come to the side. So you got some good detail there. Just Cyclonus legs right there, and then as you can see, he's solid all the way through, so no worries about any hollow areas in the body. Really, the only hollow areas that you have are in the backs of the legs and then underneath the arms, which we're going to show here in a second. But before we do, let's talk about that filler area right there. Again, just like Cyclonus, you've got that filler area, so no hollow. Looks very nice. Here's your hollow area right here. This is where your fists fold in. So on Cyclonus, you've got panels where this entire assembly would rotate around and then be hidden. They didn't go to the expense on this. They just left it hollow. So it's a minor disappointment. It's nothing awful. But the arms look pretty good. And then you've got those big old fists. And then there he is from that side profile. So you can see that he cleans up nice. He's a lean bot. There's no backpack there to speak of. And then turning him around to the back before we bring him in for the close-up. So you can see the same thing here. Just spread that arm out so that way you can see what's going on. But yeah, he comes together really well. Looks good even from back here. You got those hollow areas on the backs of the legs right there, but it's nothing major. It's really not that bad. Nitpicking, I would have liked to have seen something that they could have done with these fins right here to either fold them down or something along those lines. It doesn't detract from the looks. I just worry about these breaking off just during rough play or anything like that. All right, so details on the back. There's the back of his head. Then you got those big old wings, and you've got that backpack, which is essentially the top of the jet. And coming on down, everything looks pretty good, but nothing too amazing there. So yeah, this is a good looking bot. I really do like the color scheme. I like the design being that Kingdom Cyclonus mold. So he's got a lot of good things going for him as far as details go. But let's go ahead and jump into that articulation now. We'll start right up here with the head. The head is limited. It's on a ball joint, but it's on, the best way to describe it is just let you see it in there. So it's a very limited ball joint. Not a lot of motion you're going to get out of this guy. So you're going to get just the tiniest bit of up, tiniest bit of down, not really anything side to side. I mean, I guess if you want to call it a degree, maybe a degree, but you can go all the way around if you want to with that head. Shoulders come up that far, all the way around, and then at the elbows you get just at 90 degrees, and then you have that bicep rotation right there. The wrists, because of transformation, they will swivel in like that, and then you also have wrist rotation, so you can use the wrist rotation there as well. And coming on down to the waist, he does have waist rotation. And then down here at the hips, you're going to get a full split out of him. So plenty of range of motion there as far as the splits go. Front kick is going to go that far. Rear kick is going to go slightly farther than the front. And then at the knees, just because of the design, the knees are a little weird, but you can get good range of motion if you don't mind seeing inside of him. So you're going to get over 90 degrees on that knee if you need it. All right, and then coming down to the feet, you really get nothing going backwards. Going forwards, you get that much. Now, if you do need the backwards, like desperately need it, you can lift this up out of your way, and then you can move those back, because that's where they sit for transformation anyway. But under normal circumstances, you're only going to get that much. And then kicking forward, or forward on the foot, you're only going to get that far. It's better than nothing. And then ankle tilt, you're going to get far more than you're ever going to need. So there you go. Plenty of range of motion as far as that ankle tilt goes. So as far as articulation, limited head and weird knees and limited foot motion, but everything else is going to be there for you. You know, a little bit more than 90 in the arms would have been nice, but it's not the worst thing ever. But my biggest complaint is just going to be that limited head motion that you have right there. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into the accessories as well. So for those of you who have that Cyclonus mold, it's going to be really similar as far as what you can do with this guy. But we'll just take the guns, and as I noted before, it's a tight fit, so you can split those, you can keep them together, up to you. But the guns do have that blast effect compatibility, so you can do that all day long. And then you can take his feet, and you can do that. You could do this. So whatever you want to do there. I'm not going to do a whole separate segment where he's on the turntable, because those of you who have the Cyclonus mold know what's going on here. He does have a flight stand port right back here, so you can use that as well. And then, of course, he has that spot in his back where Starscream's going to shoot him, because that's what Starscream does. So, yeah, I mean, the accessories, you can, for weapon storage, for his titanium saber. You can just put it right here on the back. It looks pretty cool, just hanging out back there. I do very much like that. And then you can have him dual wielding or single wielding the guns. And you know, it's exactly what you think it might be. You plug them in, and then if you want, you've got, it's not in the instructions per se, but if you move this wing out of the way, you can give him some nice shoulder mounted cannons. I should have put the other gun over here. Bear with me. So you can give him some nice shoulder mounted cannons if you want to do something like that as well. So really up to you. There we go. Plug them in. Yeah, so there you go. And like I said, you know, throw some blast effects on, have a good time. It's nothing we haven't already seen with Cyclonus, so I'm just not going to spend a lot of time with it. So now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the transformation and get him into his jet mode. For those of you who have the Voyager Kingdom Cyclonus, a lot of this transformation is going to look familiar. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take these hands and you're going to flip the hands in to those forearms. So just give them a flip like that. Do the same thing over here. And once you have that, you're going to pry his chest apart. So just reach up here, find a spot, give this a pull, bring that all the way down. And when you do that, that's going to allow you to separate these shoulder areas right here. So you're just going to pull those back out of your way. And now if you hold right here, push down on this, that's going to allow you to pop this piece down. And you should have him looking something like that. And now you're going to rotate this entire assembly 180 degrees right here. So you're going to rotate this around. That head's going to tuck away. Then you've got that nose cone. You're just going to lift that nose cone up. Give that a click right there. Have that sticking straight up just like that. And now you can bring the chest back up. And then just give that a squeeze. And then bring this up. And when you do, make sure you've got this blue tab right there. Make sure that you capture that blue tab up underneath the gray piece right there. And then give that a squeeze right there as well. That's going to hold your nose cone in place. All right, once you've done that, now just move these kind of out of your way for now. So I'm going to go down here to the legs, and I'm going to take care of the legs next. So you're going to push these feet out of the way a little bit, enough to get a finger in there, and then you're going to lift that assembly up right there. Then you're going to pull this piece out. This is actually going to be the cover. It's going to look like thrusters. And then you're going to take that foot. You're going to tuck the foot away in that hollow area you've created and then bring this down. And then that's going to fill that gap. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Move that foot. Lift this up out of the way. Push the foot in. Bring this piece out. Swing that down. And then you're all set. So now what you can do is take these legs and squeeze them together. So you've got a tab and a slot and a tab and a slot. And you're going to give those a squeeze. And now I'm going to take this assembly right here and I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees. So just keep everything out of your way as you're rotating that 180. And then you'll notice you've got a slot right here. It's going to correspond to this tab right there on the ends of the legs. So you're going to start collapsing those legs in just like that. And then when you do, you're going to align that slot and that tab and put everything together like that. All right, so then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to bring these down. So looking for the best view here. These are sitting on a double hinge right here. So you're going to bring these down like that. And then when you do, this slot right here is going to correspond to this tab right there. So you're going to bring that down and then you're going to use that slot and tab system on the arm and push that in, and that's going to secure all that in place. So do the same thing over here, bring that down and then give that a push, and that's going to secure that. So now you have your wings next. So these wings are on double hinges as well, so they're folded up. So lift the wing up and then bring it down on that double hinge. And then when you bring that down, you're going to have a little slot and a tab right there. Just give that a gentle push and then you're all set. So do the same thing over here. So there's your tab, there's your slot. Lift the wing up, bring it down on that double hinge. Try not to pull that apart. I knew that was going to happen as soon as I started pulling on it. Bring that down on the double hinge and then give that a push. And then you have the wings locked in place. Give everything one final squeeze. So the only thing we have left to do now, the missing pieces, are going to be those fins in the rear, which you use these guns for. So you have these tabs right here that are going to correspond to the slots on the sides of the legs right here. So you're just going to line those up if you find the right one, and then give that a push in, and then do the same thing on this side. Give it a push in right there, and there you have Metalhawk in his alt mode. So before we start manhandling him, I just figured I'd throw him on the turntable so you can get a nice unobstructed view. Unlike the Cyclonus mold, Metalhawk does not have landing gear, so that's kind of a bummer. So when you have him in this mode, you're essentially just going to lay him on the belly of the plane, and you can't do a lot as far as blast effects, so I went ahead and I put some blast effects on there just to kind of show you the limited things that you can do. It's nothing really exciting. You've got a couple of ports under the wings here, so I just threw some blast effects under there. And then you do have the ability back here on the thrusters to throw some blast effects on, so if you're lucky enough to have 4 of this kind, then you can use those, but otherwise you're stuck with what you have. So there you go. Now that we've gotten the turntable out of the way, let's go ahead and bring him in and take a look at his details. Now that we have that turntable out of the way, let's go ahead and bring Metalhawk in for his details, and we'll start right up here at that cockpit. And you've got some sculpt work in there. It's not the greatest thing ever, but looks pretty good. Making your way down to the wings. Whole lot of sculpt work going on, whole lot of details. And I think in this view, especially if I take this, I'm going to take his sword off. I think in this view you can really see just the similarities between him and Cyclonus, especially right here where those legs come together. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Interesting thing to see or to note here is that these are the same wings, or at least the same wing design used by Cyclonus. The only difference here is if you look on the Cyclonus mold, these areas right here fold in on the Cyclonus mold. On Metalhawk, they do not. They're just fixed. So it looks like they move, but they don't. And coming around to this side, I mean, not a tremendous amount of stuff to talk about here. It's sculpt work everywhere. It's an overall sleek look. So it's a nice thin plane. I do appreciate that. Here he is from the back. And from the top. And then from the bottom. So yeah, I mean, it's a good looking alt mode. I like the bot mode better than the alt mode, but this alt mode still looks pretty darn good to me. And I'm very happy with it for the Voyager price point. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and we'll get into some comparisons. We'll see how he looks against some other alt modes that are out there. Since I don't have any other Metalhawks in my collection, much less a G1 Metalhawk, I figured I would bring in a figure that I don't think I've ever used in a review before. So this is the G1 Decepticon Slug Slinger Target Master. Our next comparison is a fellow Legacy Voyager class. This is the Legacy Jahaxus. And for our final alt mode comparison, this is what I consider to be the most relevant comparison here. This is the Kingdom Voyager class Cyclonus. And I'm going to take a moment here, not a lot of time, just a moment to kind of show you a lot of the areas where they were borrowed. And in this mode, you're going to see a lot of things that are similar. So let's just go ahead and take a look here. I want to show you right off the wings. So if you were to look at these wings right here, you can see the similarities there that I'm talking about between those wings. And then the backs of the figure, I'm going to take this sword off. And then for the backs, figure I'll take his gun off as well. You can see as far as the legs, what I'm talking about there, the sculpt work is the same, the whole location is the same, and the overall design is the same. The difference, those thrusters are different back there. But yeah, so in the jet mode, those are the two biggest areas where you can see a lot of similarities. Now if you look at them under here, you can see the legs and the chest are in the approximate same location as well. So the big difference is just going to be the way the arms fold up into those wings between the two. All right, so now that I've probably overdone it there as far as comparisons go, let's go ahead and get back into the transformation. We'll get Metalhawk back into his bot mode. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and take the sword off the top of Metalhawk and then make your way to the back here and take the guns off as well. Just give those a pull and put those off to the side. Alright, now we're going to take these wings. We're going to fold these wings up and get those up out of our way. So just give these a gentle pull right here. Well, I didn't mean to take that part out, but we're going to run with it. I'm going to put it back in there. Give that a gentle pull right here. And then swing that wing up. And then it's sitting on a double hinge right here, so you're going to kind of bring that wing down and then fold it up just like that. And then do the same thing over here. Hold on to that one, give that a pull, and then give that a double. It's going to come out either way, isn't it? Well, so what? If it does, it does. All right, so then you have those like that. And now, since it's so eager, it's so anxious, go ahead and give these arms a pull and get those out of the way as well. And then you can bring these up on their double hinges as well and swing that up and out of your way. You've got those up out of your way like that. And then you're going to take those legs, just pull down on them a little bit and then pull right here, and that's going to bring the leg assembly out. And then split the legs. Then you can take this piece right here, lift this piece up and out, and then pull that foot out of there, fold this piece in, collapse that in, and then do the same thing over here. Lift that up, bring the foot out, collapse that, close that up, and then you have the legs done. So now you can take this assembly right here, rotate that around 180 degrees, and now you're going to split this area right here so the chest comes down, and then this piece comes down as well. Just be mindful of those arms. And once you have that like that, you're just going to take this nose cone, break the nose cone right there, fold it in on itself, swing that around. That whole thing's going to come around. You should have something that looks like that. Now you can take this chest piece, just temporarily, just bring it up to make sure that everything lines up the way it should. You don't want to close this up all the way yet because you're going to be using these to capture the arms. So then bring this back piece up, and then that's going to push in. Should have something like that. And now you're going to bring these arms around. So you got these arms on these double hinges right here. So you're going to bring those in. You want to keep that fold right there as it is. And try to, there we go. Fold that in. There we go. Hopefully I'm showing it better than I'm explaining it. So you want to try to keep that fold, that Z, just in that opposite direction, and then drop that in like that. And then what you're going to do, I'm going to keep those arms spread so you can see, you have tabs right here that are going to correspond to these slots right there. You're going to bring those up and capture all of that. So give that a squeeze and make sure you capture it. That one didn't capture, so just be aware of that. Bring that chest back down, bring this out, keep those squeezed together, and then give them a squeeze. There you go. So both sides are all squeezed in together. Then you just take those fists, pull those fists out, give his arms a nice natural bend. Do the same thing over here. Well, come on, there you go. And then there you have Metalhawk back in his bot mode. For our first bot mode comparison, since there was a time when Metalhawk was a pretender, I figured I would bring in the only pretender that I have in my collection. This is Wave Rider and his human diver, so I just figured I would bring those in as a point of comparison for that pretender side. Next up is that G1 Target Master Decepticon Slug Slinger. Moving on to a fellow Transformers Legacy Voyager-class comparison. This is the Voyager-class Jahaxus. And for our final, most relevant comparison, this is the Kingdom Voyager-class Cyclonus. And you can see just how many similarities these two figures have and all those design details that they share between the two. So as you can see, the upper arms are the same, the upper legs are the same. And then down here, although the legs, the sculpt work is different, everything works the same as it does. the wings work the same and essentially are the same thing. So a lot of similarities between these two, but what a great design and what a great mold, and I'm so happy to see it in use again on something other than Cyclonus. So just borrowing from Cyclonus over to Metalhawk, nothing but good things for him. All right, that's it for the comparisons. Let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. And there you have the Transformers Legacy Voyager-class Metalhawk. And yeah, this is a good figure. This is a good mold, a good design based on Cyclonus, and all kinds of fun to be had with this guy. So let's go ahead and dig into it, and we'll start with the aesthetics, the overall looks of the figure. I really like the color scheme. Just the red, the blue, the yellow, it all works. He's a brightly colored figure. He has a great shelf presence. As far as the alt mode goes, there's almost no kibble in the alt mode. Again, goes down to the fact that it's based on that Cyclonus design. So both modes look really good here. Bot mode is my favorite. He just looks big and bulky and beefy and intimidating. Looks really good on the shelf. No major complaints here whatsoever. A few minor hollow areas, but nothing that truly detracts. I wish they could have done something with those hands like what they did with Cyclonus, so they could have had a panel right up in there to cover that hollow area up. But grand scheme of things, this guy looks fantastic. It doesn't matter which mode you have him in. He's just a good looking figure for the price point. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. Moving on to the articulation. He has some slight limitations in certain areas with the articulation. I'm really disappointed in that head. You're not going to get very much variation. A little bit of up, a little bit of down, hardly any tilt. So he's going to be kind of limited from a posing standpoint, what you can do with that head. And then for the feet, the inability to bring the feet down or backwards, if you will, is going to be limiting in those posing options as well. So that kind of detracts. He's really good everywhere else, has the range of motion that you would expect. Would have liked to have had a little bit more in the knees, but it's not enough to be a negative on him, if you will. But that head and those feet do cause some limitations, but I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for articulation. You're still going to get him in some great poses. Moving on to the accessories. They're nice. They're cool. I like that you have all that different variety, that you can put the two guns together to make a larger gun, that you can keep them separate, that you can, the way you use them as the tail fins in the alt mode, it's really cool the way they incorporate it. I like all that, but they're just kind of plain. I mean, it's gray molded plastic. The detail's nice, but there's no paint, there's no different colors. It kind of takes away from the overall look. If nothing else, I would have liked to have seen that sword decorated up. I mean, this is his titanium saber. They could have done a little bit more than what they did with that sword. So that's kind of disappointing, but the accessories themselves are nice. I just wish they would have had a splash of paint on them. Blast effect compatibility is good. The fact that not only he has the ports, but you also have the ability to use the blast effects on his guns, that is helpful as well. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 since we've never seen the accessories before, or at least these accessories before. Making our way over to quality. For the most part, the quality is here. He came with everything that he was supposed to. Most of the joints are nice and tight. Everything tabs in the way that it's supposed to, so no issues there. Paint looks good. The sculpt work looks good. I just feel like my shoulder joints and the lower knee joints are slightly loose. They're a little bit looser than they felt in Cyclonus, so I don't know if that's just kind of a tolerance creep from the use of the mold or if there's something else going on there, but I think over time those joints are going to give me a little bit of trouble, but for now they're okay. I still have some worry about them. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 on quality. So coming to our last bullet, overall value. I think the value's here for this figure. He's fun. It's just, simply speaking, a good design, and he looks good. The transformation is intuitive. It flows. There's pleasure in doing it, and I think you're going to have all kinds of fun with this figure. So I picked this guy up for $30 US at a local Target, and I think the MSRP is good here. I don't have a problem paying that $30 for this figure. I think that the value's there. I think you get a lot for what you pay for. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 for overall value. So that brings us to our grand total out of a possible 50 points. The Legacy Metalhawk gets 42 out of 50, puts him at 84%, and it makes this figure an easy recommend from me. I absolutely adore the Cyclonus mold and the design, and the fact that they carried that over to another figure. It's about time that they did that anyway, because it's so good. They really needed to share that mold more, if you will. And the fact that they were able to implement it here and make Metalhawk look so good in both of his modes and really so cartoon accurate. It's really a job well done here. So this is an absolutely fine figure, and I think that if you collect the Legacy line, the Kingdom line, you know, anything along those lines, if you're a fan of Transformers in general, this is going to be a fun figure to pick up and play with. So definitely something that I would recommend if you can find him. So with that's going to wrap the review up. I hope you guys got some good information out of this. I hope you were entertained. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment if you feel like it. And one last favor to ask. If you know of anyone that would enjoy this channel or the videos that we do here, please share this channel with them. Share the video with them. It's always fun to see the channel grow. So with that's going to wrap it up. Until we see you guys in the next review, take care.